Kevin was tasked by his boss to help locate and clear out snake pits in the Amazon rainforest. He was no stranger to snakes, but the pit he encountered here had some ominous vibes. He knew this wasn't going to be a regular day of work. This was confirmed when he tried to go down and the snakes grew more aggressive. He got the feeling that they were protecting something on the bottom. Kevin decided to not go immediately down to the bottom. This would probably lead to some very nasty injuries. He instead chose the slow approach. He tried to locate whatever it was that the snakes were protecting, but there was one thing that stood out. The snakes seemed to group around the center of the pit. There was something important down there. Kevin had once heard of a local legend but dismissed the thought quickly. They had to sedate the snakes to get down there, so he called for backup. Backup quickly arrived, and they came to help Kevin to ascend down the pit. He got some protective gear from his fellow workers, and with sedative darts, they managed to sedate most of the snakes. When Kevin finally got down there, everybody's jaw dropped to the floor. How was this possible? But what had Kevin found at the bottom of the snake pit? Why was everyone so shocked at what they had encountered? Before we start our story, smash the like button. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Tracking down all the pits has been a slow and difficult process. Some of them are very well hidden. Due to the lack of available roads and the constant dangers of the rainforest, it has become even more difficult. They are way behind schedule, and some of the locals are even threatening the company. They worship the snakes and want to leave the pits intact. Kevin's company has been hired by the government, so they had no choice but to continue. Kevin knew that could not be slowed down anymore. The authorities gave them an ultimatum until the end of the month, or no one would be paid. Kevin decided that he would split off from his team to find the snake pits by himself. This turned out to be the biggest mistake of his life. When Kevin was clearing a path, he suddenly jumped back. He had seen something in the vegetation that actually scared him a lot. He knew he had to continue, but he had no backup or real plan. It could be really dangerous. What he had seen was a giant anaconda, not just a regular one, the biggest he had ever seen. It was slowly making its way toward Kevin, and his first instinct was to run, but the anaconda blocked his way back. Kevin decided to make a run for it, further inside the rainforest. He had never gone so far. He regretted splitting from his colleagues, but now his survival instincts kicked in. He only thought about getting out of the situation. The anaconda followed him at a rapid pace. Kevin's heart was beating inside of his chest. He did not know if he was going to make it out of there alive. The anaconda was gaining on him, and he knew if this snake caught up to him, he did not take a chance, then something strange would happen. Out of nowhere, the anaconda stopped chasing Kevin, and at that same time, Kevin got a strange feeling. It gave him goosebumps. It was like he did not belong there. He entered a part of the rainforest that he wasn't supposed to go to. These people worshipped snakes, so Kevin was definitely an enemy to them. He slowly wandered around to find his way back. That is when he stumbled upon an altar. He was weirded out. It was an altar of a snake. There was something behind it. Walking around the altar, he saw something that scared him. It was the largest snake pit that he had ever seen. He felt uncomfortable, like he was being watched from the forest. He was on sacred grounds and had to be careful. Looking down the snake pit, he saw massive snakes. They were protecting something that was down there. That was clear. Kevin mustered up the courage to at least go down the snake pit to figure this out. This was not his brightest plan. When preparing his gear to ascend, he heard noises from the forest. Kevin thought he imagined this, so he proceeded with his plan. The moment he tried going over the edge, he suddenly felt dizzy. He completely blacked out. Kevin opened his eyes after a while. It dawned on him that he was tranquilized. A blow dart had hit him right before he tried to go down the snake pit. Now he was a captive of the native people. He was put in a cage right beside the snake pit. What was going to happen to him? Kevin realized that they probably had plans to sacrifice him to the snakes. It looked like this ritual was going to take place that night. Kevin had to make sure he could escape and call for backup. He needed his backpack. He had a flare gun inside of his backpack that would definitely help him to get out of this precarious situation. The flare would alert his colleagues and a part of the military who was assisting them in clearing the pits. He then spotted his backpack. It was right beside his cage. He was so lucky that he could reach it. He quickly grabbed the flare gun out of the backpack and fired it. At that moment, the natives ran off. They knew this meant trouble for them that they did not want to get into. Backup quickly arrived, and the military, accompanied by his colleagues, helped to get him out of this cage. They immediately closed down the area to clear the snake pit. Kevin told them there was something down there, something that the natives were worshiping. Kevin decided he was going to be the one to go down there. They sedated the snakes, and Kevin quickly ascended. Kevin gasped at what he encountered, and the team around him mirrored his shock. Clearing out the snakes revealed something unexpected. An enormous snake with a giant bulge. Something was inside it. They had to act quickly. The workers warned Kevin that the snake might become aggressive if it felt threatened. Deciding to proceed cautiously, they called the nearest animal vet. The vet suggested the snake might be pregnant and tasked the workers with identifying the bulge's location. This required pulling the snake onto land and stretching it out, a dangerous task that made many workers hesitant. One brave worker stepped up, positioning himself strategically, while two others carefully pulled the snake out of the water. With lead shoes for safety, they managed to stretch the snake without incident. It became clear something was wrong. The bulge wasn't consistent with eggs. The workers relayed this to the vet, who immediately identified the issue. The snake had swallowed something it shouldn't have and required surgery to survive. The vet faced challenges reaching the remote work site due to heavy traffic and unfamiliar terrain. Eventually, with the help of a company manager and an all-terrain Jeep, she endured a grueling 3-hour journey through the rainforest. Despite moments of doubt, she remained committed to saving the snake. When she finally arrived and saw the snake, she knew the effort was worthwhile. Meanwhile, the workers struggled to keep the restless snake contained as time passed. Some argued to let it go and resume their work, seeing no point in delaying their deadlines for an animal. However, others, motivated by the vet's words, insisted on waiting. When the vet finally arrived at the site, the snake was still lying in the same place where the workers kept him. But it became more and more obvious that this would not be the case for very long, as the snake had gotten really aggressive at this point. The vet waited for the snake to have his head turned in the other direction. After that, she slowly approached the snake and swiftly injected the sedative into the snake's lower body. Now they had to wait until the snake was fully sedated. After a while, the snake was completely out. Some workers dropped to their knees from exhaustion, and their heart rates finally dropped back to normal a bit. Now the vet could finally turn her attention to the big bulge on the snake that she actually came for. At this point, there is nothing else to do but to carefully cut open the snake and get the object out of it. With the greatest precision and care, the vet cuts open the snake along with the bulge, and after getting through the skin, muscle, and esophagus, the source of the bulge is finally revealed to everybody. But it is not what they expected it to be. Out of the snake came a small plastic box that baffled the vet at first, but the workers immediately knew what it was and realized what had happened. But the workers also realized that this was not good news for the snake. This box was their cooler, in which they kept most of their perishables like meat. However, the meat in this one had gone bad, so they left it out of the truck because it smelled really bad. But they still couldn't figure out how the snake found this cooler, as they thought they had put it away safely. The snake must have picked up the scent and thought it was prey, so it swallowed it as a whole. But it sadly quickly learned the consequences of an error that might be fatal to the snake, with the cooler Renake to wake up. It is still dazed and confused at first, but after a while it starts crawling away a lot faster than it was before the surgery. After the snake was gone again in the forest, the vet had one thing left that she needed to do. She thanked the workers for their incredible effort to keep the snake and themselves safe. After this, she returned to the city, where more patients were waiting for her. The vet did one last thing to make sure the snake was okay. She monitored the snake's behavior via the chip she planted. The snake is behaving completely normally, and the vet can confidently say that the operation has been a success. She saved the animal's life.